Greetings, my name is Joe Bustillos. I am the course director for edm613 Media Asset Creation, and this is a continuing series of intro videos meant to give you a little heads up on some of the projects that we're doing during the course of this month. So the first one we really want to talk about is the lit review that is due at the end of week 1. And basically there are the instructions there that you'll want to turn in your most recently updated lit review. And so you should have turned in one at the end of month 10. Even if you got approval at the end of month 10, please make sure that you go ahead and turn in the corrected version from month 10 in month 11. And you'll do it via FSO. Obviously, last name, first name, lit review, and then month 11, and then is the title of the doc, and it's due at the end of week 1. And please make sure, especially if you've been having any kind of confusion about the lit review, that you do avail yourselves and take advantage of all the resources that are posted in our program. And I've listed there the URL for Dr. Bedard's lit review. Of a special concern, make sure that you do click on the lit review checklist, because that is what the lit review checkers are using to determine whether or not your lit review is prepared, ready for month 12 review. So please make sure that you do that. And we've been doing this for a little bit, so let me just kind of quickly go through some of the problems that we have run into. The most common problem that we run into is that again, there's a little bit of a continuum in there, and the one that we see the most is that people are either going to do a annotated bibliography where they list authors or research papers and then a brief summary of what that person said. That's an annotated bib. And the other extreme of this would be a research paper where in the opening paragraph you make a statement. You present your action research question, then you make a statement, and then you look for research out there that proves your statement. That's a research paper. A lit review is not a research paper. A lit review basically takes your opening statement, your opening question in regards to your action research, and then it says, okay, here's my question. What does the research out there say? And that's why they want you to look at something over around 20 or more research articles, because the idea is not to prove your point, but to hopefully anticipate what you might find as you are doing your research. And so you want the spectrum of all the different points of view on your side. And the synthesis comes where you have done the research enough. You've looked at all these articles, all these journals, all these authors, and you know their positions well enough to articulate in your own words their positions, but also their relationships with one another. And so that's where the synthesis comes in. The synthesis is putting their words, their ideas and thoughts into your words, and then making comparisons amongst the research. And when I say comparisons, we're not talking about which one is right and which one is wrong, as much as this one holds this point of view and this one holds a different point of view, and then all the other variations in between. In the summary of your lit review also, we're not looking, again, for you're not proving a point. You are basically looking at all the literature that is out there in relation to your question. And so your summary basically is a summary. Your conclusion is a summary of all the different things that you've seen, compressed down into a short concluding paragraph. So that really kind of nails up what we see when it comes to some of the difficulties with lit reviews. People trying to prove a point, which makes it look like a research paper, or people who do not synthesize the research, and so we basically just have an annotated bibliography. So you want to avoid those two. Somewhere in the middle is what we're looking for, which is a review of the literature on your thing. Now, there's at least 2 other things to be aware of. One is that if your action research is of a very practical, I'm going to teach audio technology to a certain group of individuals. So that's a very procedural, okay, we do this, and this kind of study. when you go and you look for research on that, you're probably not going to find a lot of research on it specifically. What you have to do is you have to look at the academic end of the principles behind what you're trying to teach, and not necessarily directly what you are trying to teach. So kind of one way of looking at it is the more pragmatic, the more step 1, step 2, step 3 your action research turns out to be, the more you've got to be a little bit more general and universal in your when you look for your research terms. At the same time, also, if you're extremely cutting edge, say you're doing social networking and courses built on the Facebook framework, for example, as an example, you're not going to find a lot of academic papers, or you might not find very many academic papers on that particular topic. And so you have to widen the spectrum of your research question so that you can, so that you have more sources to work from. So the first one, avoid annotated bibs. It's not a research paper. If you have a very practically minded action research, you have to get kind of behind the procedural stuff into the universal principles of like education or media or learning behind what you want to accomplish, and look in that way. And then if your topic is very, very cutting edge, then you are going to need to kind of expand it. And so with the example of social networking, perhaps we include blogging or other things that are related to that. So those are things to look out for. There should be other resources that you have available to you on our FSO coursework, and I hope this helps you work through that, and look forward to getting your papers in. So here is the contact information if you need to get a hold of me with any questions in regards to anything that was mentioned in the videos. Please feel free to do so. If you see me online, then I'm online because I know that you guys, if you see me online, I kind of anticipate you guys going ahead and popping in if you got a question. So please feel free to do so if you see me online, edm613@me.com. Also, that's probably the email address you want to hit me up on if you have a question that requires an email correspondence. And then if it's something that requires voice, your best bet of getting a hold of me is to use Skype, and the handle is JB Bustillos.